Hi viewers, welcome to my channel. Today I will make you to learn some of the most important MCQ questions with respect to the polymorphism concept in the Java, so that you can easily qualify in the InfyTQ certification exam if you are going to get these kind of questions in the MCQs. So now the first question is, what will be the output of the following code? This is the code snippet that is available. Now out of this entire code snippet, the main method is available here. So the Java JVM execution will start from the main method. Within the main method, we are trying to create the object of the tester class, and after completion of the object creation, with the help of same object, we are calling one method. The method name itself is evaluate. So within that evaluate method, we are passing two values, 4 comma 2.5 f. It is a floating point number. Now unfortunately, within the same tester class, we have two evaluate methods are available. Both the two evaluate methods are object specific only, so that we can call them with the help of object of the class tester. But unfortunately, within one method the signature is different. So within the first method, the two parameters of the type of integer, and within the second method, the two parameters of the type of floating point numbers. Here the two methods are overloaded methods. What do you mean by method overloading? Within the same class, if you are having more than one method with the same method name but different in parameters and their types, we can call them as overloaded methods. Here two methods are having same method name, but the parameters types are different. Here the number of parameters are the type of parameters. So here the difference that we are identifying here is both are having same number of parameters, 2 only, but the types are different. So that here what will happen, is there any ambiguity that we are going to get? Otherwise we are going to get the valid output. So before going to answer this question, you should have some basic idea related to the type conversions. For example, one type is promoted to another type implicitly if there is no matching data types is found. So that means byte will be automatically converted into short will be converting into int can be converting into long or double or float, char will be converting into int or float, long will be converting into float or double, as well as float will be converting into double. These are the possible implicit type conversions if there is no data type matching is identified. Now here one value that we are passing here is integer, second value that we are passing here is floating point number. Now coming to the first method, within the method definition, the two variables of the type of integers. If you are going to call this method with respect to this method invocation, there will be possible loss of value. That means within this b variable we are going to get 2 only. Why? Because it is of the type of integer, we are going to lose that 0.5 value with respect to this method, so that this method will not at all come into the picture. What about the next method? Within the next method we are using floating point, there is no problem. The integer will automatically implicitly we can convert it into the floating point, we can hold it into the floating point variable, as well as 2.5 f is itself, it is indicating floating point, we can hold it in the b variable, so that without losing any kind of value with respect to the values that we are passing, you will get the exact accurate output with the help of this second method. So that out of these two methods, the second method will be coming into the picture, so that the message that we are going to get here is second evaluate method invoked, and within that a plus b, in the sense within the a, the value that we are passing is 4, that will be converting into floating point, so that 4.0 it will become 4.0 plus b value is floating point number itself 2.5f, so that 4.0 plus 2.5, the value that we are getting is 6.5. that is the result that we are getting from this function. So second evaluate method invoked, and 6.5 is the right answer among all the four options. So please be careful while at the time of attempting these kind of questions. Thank you. Now coming to the next question, what is the output of the following code? We have the tester class is available, within that main method is available, the execution will start from the main method. Within the main method we are trying to create the object of the tester class, the reference variable name itself is tester. With the help of the same object we are calling evaluate method, and while at the time of calling evaluate method we are passing two parameters, but here the two parameters types So here the type of the two parameters are double. Those are not at all floating point. If you want to make them as floating point values, we have to provide f as a prefix, but we are not at all using f here, that due to that reason 4.5 and 2.5, these two values are double values. And here if you are going to observe that we are within the given code, there are two evaluate methods are available, but unfortunately within the two evaluate methods there is no preferable size is available. Double is the highest data type when compared to the integer and as well as floating point data type. We are unable to hold this double into this integer or floating point. Due to that reason, here in the first line itself, at the time of invocation of this method, we are going to get the compile time error. The error itself is the method evaluate of int comma int in the type tester is not applicable for the arguments double and double. Why? Because we can do widening. Widening will be automatically happen implicitly. Widening, what do you mean by the widening? If you want to know the widening concept, please go through my previous videos so that you will get the complete idea. Now this is the I think this is the 10th video lecture. We have nearly 9 video lectures are there. Please go through that all video lectures so that you will get the complete idea. So within the first or second video lecture itself, I have mentioned widening in the sense from lowest data type to highest data type, automatically typecasting will be happening implicitly. But from highest data type to lowest data type, if you want to convert the data from highest data type to lowest data type, narrowing, there will be possible loss of values, there will be the data losses will be happening. Due to that reason, here there is no preferable method is available with respect to this method invocation. Here in this method invocation we are passing double values, but we are unable to hold double values in the integer variables or floating point variables. We are unable to downcast the double variable data type value into the lowest data types like floating and integer values. So please go through the previous question, so that within the previous question I have mentioned one simple flow chart. If the respective data type is not at all available, means automatically the data type values will be transferring from int to float or float to double, but from double it is not at all possible to convert them into some other data types. So due to that reason, there is no suitable method available in this class. Here within the first method invocation itself, we are going to get the compilation error. The method evaluate of int and int in the type tester is not applicable for the arguments double and double. There is no suitable method is available for this method calling. So that the answer is second option. We are going to get compile time error. Thank you. Now coming to the next question, which of the following are overloaded methods? So we have four options. Three options are available, A, B, C. For each and every option, two methods are available. We need to identify. So which are the overloaded methods out of all the three options? Now, before going to answer this question, you have to have some basic idea related to what do you mean by method overloading. Method overloading in the sense, one or more methods which are existing in the same class with the same method name, but difference in the parameters count or type of the parameters, but the return type of the method does not reflect anything in the method overloading. That point you have to keep in your mind with respect to the method overloading. Now try to check the first option. What is the first option here? So the first option itself is, we have public void add is the method. It has two parameters, int a comma int b. The parameter count is 2 and both are of the type of integer. And we have one more method, public void add. Here the method name is same, that means these two methods are overloaded methods, and here the parameter count is different as well as the parameter types are also different. So the parameter count here is 3 and the parameter types are floating point, so that these two methods are overloaded methods. Option A is correct, there is no doubt at all. Coming to the option B, public int, the return type of the method is integer and the method name itself is add, and it has the parameter count 3 and all of the type of integer. The parameter count is 3 here and all are of the type of integer only. Coming to the next method, public, the return type of this method is float, and but previous method return type is integer. Here the method name is same, add, and the parameter count is also same, 3 parameters only, and the parameter types are also same, integer only. That means these two methods are not at all overloaded methods. Don't decide the method overloading based upon the return type of the methods. The main focus that we have to concentrate upon the parameter types and the parameter count. Here both the methods are having similar kind of parameters, three parameters, and all the three parameters are of the type of integer. That means there is a ambiguity. If you are going to define these kind of methods in the Java class, means it is not at all acceptable. Already the method is available, like that you will get the compile time error. So here, even though there is a difference in between the return type of the two methods, these two methods are not belonging to overloaded methods. Why? Because method name is same, there is no problem, but the parameters count and the parameters types also same. When can you say a method is a overloaded method? The method name should be same, but difference in the parameter count, at least there will be a difference in the parameter count, but unfortunately the two methods are having three parameters, or the difference we have to identify the type of the parameters. There is no difference in the type of the parameters also. Due to that reason, these two methods are not comes under the method overloading concept. What about the next methodology? What is the next option? Public float. The return type of the method is float. The method name is add. It has two parameters. One is floating and second one is integer. Coming to the next method, public float. It is also returning floating point only. And here the parameter, the first parameter is integer, second parameter is float. Here the count of the parameters are same but different in the parameter types. Here in the first method, the first parameter type is integer float, but in the second method the first parameter type is integer. That means there is lot of difference in between the types of the parameter. So that in the option C, these two methods are comes under the category of method overloading. Now out of all the three options, option A and C are following method overloading concept. We need to identify in which option we are having option A and C. In the second statement, within the second option, we are having option A and option C, so that the right option is second option. Thank you. Now coming to the next question, which of the following statement is or are correct? Coming to the first statement, constructors can be overloaded. There is no doubt at all. We can overload the constructors. We can maintain the same constructor name, but we can pass different parameters. Parameterizer constructor, default constructor, these are all comes under the constructor overloading concept. First option is right. Constructor can return a value. It is not at all correct. If you are going to return something from that particular method, means it is belonging to method category. Constructor is a special method which does not have return value, so we should not return from the constructor. But here the statement is constructor can return a value. It is not at all. If the constructor is returning something, means it will become normal method. We should not return something from the constructor, then only we can showcase the difference in between constructor and some user defined method. Due to that reason, the second option is not at all correct. We should not return something from the constructor. Constructor does not have return value. Third statement is constructor name should be the same as class name. Exactly. Now the fourth statement is constructor can take input parameters. There is no problem at all. Default constructor, single parameter is a constructor, two parameters, like that we can pass n number of parameters to the constructors. Constructor can take input parameters. Now out of all the four options, the right options are 1, 3, 4. We need to check in which option we are having 1, 3, 4. Within the first option itself, we are having 1, 3, 4. Due to that reason, first option is the right option among all the four options. Thank you. Now coming to the next question, what will be the output of the code given below? So here we have one class is there. The class name itself is employee, and within the class we have to identify where is the main method. The main method is available here. The JVM execution will start from the main method, and within the main method of the class, first of all we are creating the object of the employee class. The object reference name itself is employee1, and while at the time of creating the object of the employee class, we are invoking the parameterizer constructor of the employee class, so that the control navigation will be transferring to the parameterizer constructor of the employee class. Now within this parameterizer constructor, we are passing two values. John is the name that we are passing as employee, and 101 is the employee ID. so that the name and employee ID we are assigning this in the sense the current class object is E1. With respect to the E1, the name that we are assigning here is E1 dot name equal to John, as well as E1 this dot empid in the sense, so here with respect to the first object the ID that we are assigning is 101. So at the end of this constructor execution, so with respect to the employee 1 the name is John, with respect to the employee 1 object the employee ID is 101. Now coming to the next line, we are creating one more employee object, that is nothing but employee 2, while at the time of creating this employee 2 object we are invoking the default constructor of the employee class, so that the default constructor of the employee class will be coming into the picture. With respect to the default constructor of the employee class, we are assigning the city of the employee. The city itself is New York, and that to this dot city in the sense, now we are calling this default constructor with the help of employee 2. Due to that region, with respect to the E2, the city will become this dot city in the sense, with respect to the employee 2 object the city will become New York. So now at the end of these two statements we are printing system.out.println employee 1 dot name. Employee 1 dot name means you will get John. Employee 1 dot eid, with respect to the employee 1 first object the ID that we are going to get here is 101. And coming to the employee 1 dot city, employee 1 dot city means with respect to the employee 1 object we did not set the city in the parameterized constructor. Due to that region, initially within the city reference variable it is of the type of string. Due to that region, the null value that is available with respect to the employee 1 e1 dot city, we are having null value that will be printed here. Null we are going to print it here. We need to check. So within the first three statements that we are getting John 101 null, in which option we are having that values. In the first option we are not at all having that values. John 101 New York, it is not at all right option. John 101 null, which is available in the second option, it is the expected right answer. John 101 New York, it is also not correct. John 101 null, it is also expected right answer. Now we have to check in the second statement system.out.println employee 2 dot name. With respect to the employee 2, there is no name that we are assigning. Why? Because while at the time of creating employee 2 we are invoking the default constructor of the class. With the help of the default constructor we are just setting the city of the employee. We did not set the name of the employee as well as the ID of the employee. Due to that region, you will get within the employee name, which is of the type of string, you will get e2 dot name, in the sense you will get null. Why? Because the default value of the string is null, as well as e2 dot empid. So e2 dot empid you will get 0. Why? Because the default value of the employee ID is integer default value is 0. So with respect to the employee 2, the employee name will become null, employee ID will become 0, but employee city New York. Why? Because while at the time of creating employee 2 object we have already set the city of the employee. The city is New York. So you will get null 0 New York with respect to the second output statement. We have to check in which option we are having null 0 and New York. Null 0 and New York that are with respect to the second statement, which is available in the second option. So that second option is the right option. What about fourth option? Within the fourth option, John 101 New York, it is not at all correct. So final output is with respect to the first print statement you will get John 101 null with respect to the first employee object, and coming to the second employee object you will get null 0 and New York. Null 0 and New York. Second option is the right option. Thank you. And coming to the last question, what will be the output of the code given below? It is also relating to the previous question, but little bit modifications are there. We have to identify the exact output from this code. Now from this entire employee class, the execution will start from the main method of the employee class. And within the main method of the employee class, the first and foremost line is we are creating the object of employee class. The employee object reference name itself is employee 1. And while at the time of creating the employee class object, we are invoking the parameterized constructor of the employee class, so that the control flow navigation will be transferring to the employee parameterized constructor. Within the parameterized constructor, we are passing employee name John and as well as employee ID 101 that we are assigning to. So before going to assign those name and as well as ID to the name of the employee and employee ID, here we are performing one more statement here. So the statement itself is we are invoking this class default constructor, so that the control flow navigation will be transferring to this class default constructor. Within this class default constructor, this dot city equal to New York. That means actually this entire constructor invocation is happened with the help of employee 1 object due to that region. This indicates emp1. With the help of employee 1, the city that we are setting here is, so with respect to the employee 1, the city is New York. As well as after execution of this class default constructor, the control flow navigation will come at the end of this class invocation. Now the next line is this dot name. This dot name means with respect to the employee 1, e1 dot name that we are setting Ram. So sorry, John is the name that we are setting, as well as e1 dot this dot emp id in the sense. So the id value that we are setting, well at the time of creating the object we are passing 101, that will be available in the employee id. So now after completion of the execution of this entire parameterized constructor, the control flow navigation will be coming into the end of this line. Now coming to the next line, we are creating one more object. The object name itself is employee2. Now with respect to the employee2 object, we are calling default constructor of the class. Now the control flow navigation will be entering into the default constructor of the class. Within the default constructor, this dot city in the sense with respect to the employee2 object. So employee2 dot city, we are setting only city for the employee2 object. The city is New York, and at the end of the execution of the default constructor, the control flow navigation will be coming to the end of the second object creation. Now we are having two print statements are available. Try to print the content. Within the first print statement, employee 1 dot name, employee 1 dot employee id, employee 1 dot city. Employee 1 dot name is John, we are going to get it. Employee id with respect to the employee 1 object is 101, and employee city with respect to the employee 1 is New York. Why? Because we are using this statement in the parameterized constructor with respect to the employee 1 class object. Due to the region, we are setting the city of the employee for employee 1. Now with respect to the employee 1, you will get John 101 New York. We need to check in which option we are having that all the things. John 101 New York, it is the expected answer. Here in the second answer, John 101 null, it is not correct. In the fourth option also, John 101 null, it is also wrong option. The expected answers are John 101 New York, John 101 New York, A and C. But coming to the next statement, we are trying to print employee2 dot name, employee2 dot employee id, employee2 dot city. But unfortunately for employee2, we have only set the city of the employee. We did not set the name of the employee as well as the ID of the employee. And due to that reason, the name default value, that is nothing but string default value null, that is available, as well as the employee ID default value is integer type. The integer default value is 0. So name we are going to get null, as well as the employee ID we are going to get 0, and finally the employee city that we are going to get New York. Employee city you will get, but employee name and as well as employee ID we are unable to get. Try to check. Within the first option, we are getting employee name, ID as well as city with respect to the employee2 object. It is not correct. So that we are going to eliminate first option. Second option, with respect to the first object, employee 1 object, we are printing employee name, employee ID, employee city, as well as with respect to the second object only we are getting employee city. We are unable to get name and employee ID. So employee name will become null, employee ID will become 0, employee city will become New York. So out of all the four options, third option is the right option. So be careful while at the time of attempting these kind of questions. I am doing so many videos with respect to the Java MCQ questions in order to get good marks in the InfyTQ Qualifier Round. All of you please go through all the lecture series videos. Now this is the 10th series video in the lecture videos. So if you're going to follow all my lecture videos, definitely you will get 20 out of 20 in the MCQ questions in the InfyTQ Qualifier Round with respect to the Java concept. Thank you one and all. If you like my video, all of you please subscribe to my channel and please share this video to your friends and ask them to subscribe to my channel. Thank you one and all.